Well, initially, it was a concern and a project of the Conservation Commission. We had been meeting with the Friends of Spy Pond Park and the Vision 2020 Spy Pond Committee to talk about the problems at the reservoir. So when the CPA was passed, we thought that this would be a wonderful project to do. Initially, we just did investigatory work to find out if it was really a problem, because the park had been worked on 10 years earlier, and there were a lot of people in town that felt we shouldn't be fixing or working on something that had already received a lot of town funding before. So we went through the process, worked with the DPW department and other people in town who supported us, and Karen Grossman of the Friends of Spy Pond Park, and wrote an application for around $50,000 to do investigatory work. That was finished this fall, and so then we applied again. Found that, through public meetings, that there was a lot of support, that there were problems that were not related to the initial project. They were related to just water level rise and erosion problems and the heavy use and the popularity of the park. So we put in a second, with the help of now having this consultant team, from the results of the first project, we put in for a second grant. First one was for $50,000, and this one is for around $30,000 to do the remediation work to correct the problems that we found in the study. We applied for it because the open space category was a perfect match for this project. And also in the initial round of funding, a lot of the other projects that were coming in were not under open space. So, and we were more ready with having this initial study. Well, the first one was easy to do for a first study, and then the second project we had the results. So it was project readiness was also another reason to go under CPA, and it probably would not have ever been funded by. I mean, I'm not really free to say this, but the Conservation Commission doesn't generally do projects, so the town it would have been more difficult under the town structure to fund it with any other source of funding in town. They set out a timeline, and we have a member of our commission, Chuck Tironi, who is a member of the CPA committee. So when we were working through the application process, he would come back and under the first grant to come back and give us feedback from the committee. I never really worked directly with the committee, but it was really through Chuck. And initially, Clarissa was helpful and always immediately responded to any questions. On the second grant, Jim Feeney worked with looking at the results of the first grant and deciding if it was feasible and what we should do for the second grant. So it was more at that level through the town manager and Jim Feeney than it was for going to CPA meetings. I did not go to CPA meetings. And then they supported us as they learned the process by doing a lot of in the first round we went to public presentations, but on the second round, application round, the committee seemed to have gotten it under ability to manage a lot of the presentation in the town to take the pressure off of the applicant, and that was nice. With our project, because the first round of funding was so tight, such a short frame, we really didn't we had public meetings, but they were shortened a little bit. So this next project, we're going to try to engage the public more, both in the final design. Part of our project is working out the details of what we're actually going to do. And then we do have money in the grant to do public training sessions to get people involved in both helping us to plant some of the plant materials, to yeah, our consultant, and we're just about to go out to bid, is going to be asked to do public education and training, because one of the problems that happened with the Land and Water Conservation Grant that was given 10 years ago for Spy Pond Park was that the volunteers over time didn't know what to do, and some of their actions really didn't help the situation at the pond's edge. So we're really hoping, and probably will be in this fall, that we'll have a lot of public sessions that people can actually work out in the field, get their hands dirty. And we're also working to try to make this is a demonstration project for people who live along the pond shore, because a lot of the problems that we have at the park and the other town-owned pond, it's Scannell Field and the land by the Boys and Girls Club and land at the end of Spring Street, which are the only town-owned parcels of land. But all the other properties around the pond have similar issues. So through these training sessions and all, we hope it to be a demonstration project that then can really help the pond. And this appealed to the town, to the Finance Committee, to the CPA Committee, that this was going to be a larger project than just a project on these parcels. So public education is really an important part of the project. I think it's impacted the community by the people that have come out to learn about the problems of what overuse and erosion control can mean. It's re-energized, I believe, the Friends of Spy Pond Park are very energized anyway, but they're excited about this. But I think the next phase of the project, when we try to bring in more of the community, and it's always hard in a planning process when you're talking about things and you're just showing pictures to get people really enthused and engaged. But I think when we're actually doing work in the ground and they're actually seeing things happening at the park, that's when really be able to see the impacts for the community and for the town. At least for Spy Pond, I don't believe we're going to apply for any more funding. We did apply for some additional funding from the state and were awarded a grant to go under the Land and Water Conservation Fund to match this project. But we hope that the funding that we've received is going to fully fund the project, and it'll be complete in a year and a half. The Conservation Commission is partnering on other projects, and they're, for example, the reservoir project. We're supporting that and working with them. So we will probably be co-sponsors on other projects, but this is, in the immediate future, I think this is really the only project we're going to apply for solely as the sole supporter or the sole applicant. And it has nothing to do with the process with CPA. It's very well run and it's not difficult, but it's just there isn't a project that's as ready as this to move forward. Well, one thing we're going to do is that a lot of the parks and we're not going to be able to solve all the problems, but a lot of the parks in town are not that accessible to the disabled community. And the extra funding we got from the state, from the Land and Water Conservation grant, is going to make us try to put a little bit more accessible, make it a little easier. And even with this project, because we are building more access points, that's part of the reason of the overuse at the park. We hope that at least one or a couple of them, and with DPW we're going to put in some ADA ramps, that more people will be able to access the edges and the water of Spy Pond. And I think that I'm really excited that we were awarded that grant. The official announcement hasn't come out yet, but we've been told by the state that it's been forwarded to the federal government for approval. CPA, I'm hoping that other projects can have this kind of involvement. I think there will be a lot of, particularly in open space projects, I would think at the reservoir, there will be lots of opportunities for the public to be involved there. Another positive aspect of this project, I think, and I think with CPA funding in general is that it's giving a new avenue for the planning department to work with citizens, and they've actively worked with us, and now that we've gotten the funding, they're increasing some of their staffing levels within the planning department to take it off of the challenge with the CPA has been that a number of committees in town are volunteers, and to do this kind of work as volunteers, it's difficult. So you need to build a relationship with the town staff to be able to work. And I think that's another positive aspect of the CPA process, that volunteers and staff are building relationships to work on projects.